Am I the a-hole for requesting my wife speak to her boss about having photos up of her in his office? My wife 29F works at a smaller company and mainly works from home. They have to go in once a week. A few weeks ago I came to her office to have lunch with her. She was showing me around when we walked past the director of her department's office. She popped her head in to say hey and introduced us. Well, I glance in the office and immediately notice that a picture of my wife is on his wall. I don't say anything but mention it at lunch. For more context, before he was the director, him and my wife worked more closely together, so they do have a friendly relationship. My wife said the picture was an inside joke because his office is right by the printer and bathroom. She said she joked that she always feels like she has to say hey when she walks past, so they are constantly saying hi. Something like that. She printed a picture of her waving, saying that she now doesn't have to do it anymore. He hung up that picture. He also has a picture of her holding a birthday sign with other coworkers, but her face is middle. So really 2 pictures. He also has other random things hanging up. And a picture of his wife on his desk. I tried to let it go, but I just think it's weird and bordering inappropriate. Like, what are people without context thinking? I explained to her and said it makes me uncomfortable and if she could maybe talk to him. She claims that would be making it something it's not and make work uncomfortable. They've never chatted outside of work and have a professional relationship. But I feel like if she won't talk to him, maybe I should. Am I the a-hole for coming to the hospital to see my ex after her son called me? 7 years ago I started dating a woman, let's call her Maya. She has a son, Mark. He was 4 when I started dating Maya. Mark's father, Maya's husband, unfortunately passed away when he was still a baby, so he has no memory of him. Me and Maya got along quite well and our relationship proceeded steadily and without too many problems. In time, I built a good relationship with Mark too, and by the time he was 7, we were a good trio. Unfortunately, my relationship with Maya ended 2 years ago. It was nobody's fault. There was no cheating or abuse involved. We simply had some problems and we came to the conclusion it was better to break up. Last week I got a call in the middle of the night. It was Mark calling. When I was still dating Maya, I had given him my phone number and told him to call if he was ever in trouble and needed help. He had never called since me and Maya broke up, but that night he was panicking. He called and he told me that he and Maya had a car accident. He was okay, but Maya was injured and they had been taken to the hospital. I pondered on what to do but decided to go to the hospital. Maya has no living relatives and Mark told me he was alone, so I went there mostly to take care of Mark. When I arrived, Maya was still unconscious, so I stayed with Mark for several hours, until she regained consciousness. When she saw me, she asked why I was there and I told her about Mark calling me. She said I should not have come and forced me to leave. At the time, I apologized and left because I thought I had overstepped her boundaries, but now, thinking back, I don't think I did anything wrong. Mark was panicking and he called the person he wanted by his side in that moment. Was it wrong for me to come? Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter go to a Halloween party? My husband, 34M, and I, 34F, have 6 kids. Our 2 oldest are our 15-year-old daughter, Autumn, and our 13-year-old son, Thatcher. Thatcher and Autumn are both at the age where they don't go trick-or-treating for Halloween anymore. Both of them have different parties they want to go to. Thatcher and his girlfriend want to go as Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. My son plays baseball and watches all sports, including the NFL. His girlfriend is into Taylor Swift. Autumn and her boyfriend want to go as Marie and Pierre Curie. The issue has been Autumn and her boyfriend saying mean things to Thatcher and his girlfriend about their costume. The biggest issue is that they said that his girlfriend shouldn't be Taylor Swift because his girlfriend is black. We are white and live in a very white area. She's one of the few black kids in the district. Thatcher got into a massive argument with Autumn over this. We weren't home when this happened, but when Thatcher told us what happened, we spoke to both of them. Thatcher was justifiably really angry. He said that it didn't matter because anyone can be Taylor Swift for Halloween. Thatcher tries to learn about his girlfriend's struggles and culture. We talked to Autumn about this and she at first dismissed it. We pushed her and she wouldn't apologize until we had to threaten to take away her electronics. A few days later, she made a comment about how dumb the costume was and how they're only going as it because they're famous and how my son is just following trends. Autumn was talked to again and she apologized. The last straw was yesterday. I had gotten a call from Autumn's science teacher that her and her boyfriend were complaining about Thatcher's costume and it made other kids uncomfortable. I apologized and she said that Autumn and her boyfriend had said racist things before and I asked why she didn't tell me. She told me she emailed me. After talking for a bit, we realized the email in the school system was wrong and I gave her my correct email and she said she'd help me get it changed in the system. I talked to Autumn and she said that her and her boyfriend just tell the truth in class. She also admitted she wasn't sorry for what she said to Thatcher. I told her she wasn't allowed to go to the Halloween party and she told me I was overreacting. I asked some of my friends for advice and they said I was being too hard on her. My son, however, is really upset and says that knowing she's getting grounded for her behavior makes him more comfortable bringing his girlfriend over. He says he wouldn't want to live with us if we didn't punish her racism. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my girlfriend and her son after she invited her ex into our home? Me, 35M, and my GF, Sarah, 35F, have been together for 4 years. She has a son, Nathan, 9M, with her ex Mark, 36M. Sarah has full custody of Nathan with her ex having scheduled visitations one weekend of every month. Sarah and Nathan moved in with me a little over a year and a half ago, and in my perspective, it was a little rocky at first. I've always been pretty protective of my space, so making room for 2 other people was difficult for me. When Sarah moved in with me, we agreed that the visitations for Mark would be held in our apartment as long as I'm home. The main reason I wanted this is because I don't know Mark that well, and I don't want him wandering around our apartment without me there. When we proposed this idea to Mark, he was fine with it. Now moving on to the real issue. 3 weeks ago marked 4 months since Mark's last visit, so I had asked Sarah when he was planning on visiting Nathan. My GF replied by shrugging her shoulders and telling me she'd ask. She never followed up with it. So a few days ago, I asked when Mark's next visit was, and Sarah said she'd tell me when she knew. Nathan was in the living room but had apparently overheard us and shouted something along the lines of "Dad was here last weekend, remember?" Sarah's face immediately dropped, and when I asked what Nathan meant, she wouldn't give me a direct answer. Eventually she ended up telling me that for the past 2 visits, Mark had been to our apartment when I was working. When I accused her of going back on our agreement, she kept telling me this was her home too and she could invite whoever she wanted, and that it was fine because she was here and watching. I told her that was besides the point and she violated my trust. It blew up into a huge argument which ended in me telling her to get out of my apartment. She packed up and left with Nathan. Last I heard, she was staying with her parents. I've gotten several messages from both Sarah and her parents calling me an asshole for kicking Sarah and Nathan out of their home for something so small. She's even been blasting me on Instagram and Facebook about how horrible I am to do this to her. It's got me thinking I might be the AH, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Am I the a-hole for giving a fake name at Starbucks? Alright, so I, 22M, think this whole thing is ridiculous, but my GF, 21F, is really angry at me, so here we go. I don't like giving my real name at places like Starbucks and similar stores where they shout out your name when the order's ready. I can't tell you why. I have a normal, reasonably common name I like fine enough, but for some reason it majorly creeps me out when a barista shouts my name through a room full of strangers. I guess it's just some, at least to me, harmless quirk I have. So whenever I am at a store where they want your name, I say it's Tom. That's literally the name I use, nothing inappropriate or outlandish, just plain Tom. I know I am meant when they call it, as I always use the same one so there is no confusion or anything. They yell Tom, I get my drink/food, and it's never been a problem till now. A couple days ago I was at Starbucks with my new GF and ordered our drinks. While she sat down, I gave them my fake name as always, and when our order was ready and they shouted Tom, I went and got it. My GF was a bit confused and asked me if I went and got someone else's order, which is fair enough, so I explained the thing to her and thought that's that, but she got really angry. She says it's really disrespectful to lie like that and that I am making everybody in the store out to be creeps who will do something bad if they know my name, which is not at all what's happening. I just don't like when they yell my real name, so I found a harmless way to get around that. But she can't see it like that. She thinks I am a pathological liar who is way too suspicious of everyone and I need to stop. I really can't see the problem she has. It's really not that deep.